Hey guys, what's up? It's Fern. Thank you so much for joining me for another planty video. So today I'm going to be reviewing my goals that I had set for my houseplant collection for the year of 2022. We're gonna see which ones I reached, which ones I didn't reach, and we're gonna be looking back on footage from a video that I posted in mid-January. That was the first video of this kind of little series where I went through the specific goals for specific plants and kind of just laid it all out. So we're going to be looking back on that. I will link that video down below if you want to watch the whole thing. And I also did a follow-up video in the summer. It was like a mid-year check-in kind of thing where I just kind of updated my progress. So this will be the third video in this series, and I cannot wait to share with you the results, I guess. Even though it's been less than a year, the ones that I've met, the plants have grown so well, and yeah, I honestly couldn't believe some of them when I was looking through this, planning out this video, so I'm very excited to share it with you today. This is actually one of my favorite topics or things to think about or talk about as well, because I feel like it helps me build a really positive relationship with my houseplants and with this hobby in general, because it's not focused on buying plants, you know, although I do like that as well, and I do make videos on that as well. I know I just posted my wish list video not long ago, but this is just focusing on how we can improve the plants that we already have, which ones we really want to invest our energy into, which ones we're really excited about for the upcoming year. So I really suggest that you kind of think about this and reflect on this as an exercise to build a more positive relationship with your houseplants and just to keep you inspired. I just think it's really fun. So let me know down below in the comments if you have any goals for your houseplants for 2023. I would love to hear. And I will, of course, be doing a second video where I am going over the goals that I have for 2023. But for this video, we are just looking back and giving updates, showing the results. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. I hope that that sounds good to you. Grab yourself a beverage or a snack and let's just hop right into it. Okay, so we're gonna take a look at what my first goal was. These aren't in any particular order, but the first one that I have on my list is regarding my Monstera albo. So she's beside me right here, and the goal that I have for this plant for 2022 is to extend her moss pole. So I would love to have this plant become a lot taller. Okay, I had to back up, but as you saw, goal number one was to add an extension to my Monstera albo moss pole, and I absolutely met that goal and more. I added an extension. I have my 3 Monstera albos here beside me. I added an extension to that main plant that you saw, and then it grew over the extension, and I have since propagated it, so I can link that video down below where I propagated this. I think I have a couple videos actually where I do it, but this was the main plant, or the mother plant. It's gonna be hard to get the whole thing on the screen, but we cut her up, and let me raise this up. As you can see, we have a growth point that has been activated right here, so I'm patiently waiting to see this new growth, and I'm just so excited that actually all of these cuttings are doing really well. So yeah, I'll give you all a little update on the other ones right now, but this was the mother, and she's obviously doing great after the chop, absolutely no issues. This plant is such a good grower for me. I have just been so impressed with it. I feel like throughout the warmer weather, it was just constantly giving me a new leaf, which was so exciting because, you know, it's just always so exciting whenever you're getting a new leaf on variegated Monstera. You never know what you're going to end up with. It's just a very fun time. So that was the mother plant, and then I took a mid-cut, which is right here. So this was the extension that I was referring to when I was saying I hope I can add an extension. This was the one I ended up adding, and then I ended up chopping. So this is a mid-cut, and it was attached to the extension. It's still attached to the extension, and we also have a growth point that has been activated right here on this one. So she's doing so well. I was a little concerned that I was gonna start getting browning or something here. I was just worried that I did some air layering before I cut this, but I was still just worried that the roots weren't gonna take, but this is rooting so well in here, you guys. It's honestly doing so good. So it's been a really a really positive experience, honestly, this whole propagation journey with my albo. And I know people were so mad that I didn't put this aerial root inside the pot. I got so many comments on that video yelling at me for not putting this in, but the way, like, it would just snap, you guys. Like, it does not bend that way, and I even tried, which I show in, like, one of the, later on in the video or something, so I guess people didn't see that. But yeah, I tried to put this in, but it would not go in. But fret not, regardless of that, it is still rooted up super well. And then the last cutting, this is the top cut, which is absolutely gorgeous. Like, look at this big leaf. Oh my goodness, it is so, so pretty. And this I just decided to root in sphagnum moss, and that's gone really well. It looks like I'm getting a lot of algae in here, so I don't know how well you'll be able to see, but there are definitely roots in there. I promise you, it's just very algae. Oh, I think that was from a big aerial coming out there. Yeah, there's a root there too. She is doing very well, and this is where new growth is going to come from along here, so I'm excited to see that whenever that happens. I'll probably transfer this to an aeroid mix whenever, or like a chunky potting mix, whenever it gets, whenever this fills up with more roots. Rooting is definitely slower right now. Like, I do propagate all year round, but I do find it slower in the winter, and that's mostly because of temperature. Because my humidity isn't bad. I mean, it's 46%, which isn't great. That's definitely on the lower end, and that's because we just are going through like a winter storm period right now, and it's very snowy out, which is kind of unusual for where I am. Usually it's more so like rainy and a little bit more humid, but right now it's definitely on the drier end of winter. But regardless, humidity, it's not like 20%, it's still, you know, almost 50%, which isn't bad. And I supplement lighting, so those aren't as big of issues as temperature. It's just hard to keep my house as warm as it would be in the summertime, so I think that that's like the biggest issue. It still happens, it's just a slower process. So I can confidently say that I crushed goal number 1 on this list. I'm gonna roll goal number 2 right now, and this one is a little sad. Okay, my second goal is to get my silver sword growing up the wood plank that I have it on. I'm really hoping this is something that is going to happen for me. It just recently put out its first roots onto the plank, or towards the plank. So as you saw, goal number 2 was to get my philodendron silver sword to continue growing up the plank. And I'm not sure when it happened. I think it probably would have been shortly after this video, like sometime in the late winter / early spring. My philodendron silver sword, I think it was thrips. Thrips completely took over that plant. It just wasn't doing well for a while, and I couldn't figure it out. And it was actually a viewer, one of y'all commented on a video and saw thrips, and then I checked it out, and sure enough it was thrips, and I just ended up propagating the whole plant. So I do have a baby from that, but long story short, I had to take it off of the plank. And this is one of the cons of the wooden plank, is that it's difficult to treat pests on them. Like, when it's attached to a piece of wood, it's not easy to just haul to the shower. It's just, yeah, it just makes things complicated. So I was just like, no, we're not doing that. I took it off the plank, and that was kind of the end of that plant. So yeah, did not meet that goal, unfortunately. And the plank is empty right now, but I am going to be potting up my Monstera dubia cuttings soon and putting it on there. Okay, goal number 3. All right, my next goal is regarding my philodendron micans here, which you guys know I've just been having a moment with it. This plant is finally like growing for me, which is very exciting after a couple of years. So my goal for this year is to create a full bushy basket of this plant. Alright, so that goal was to grow a larger, bushier philodendron micans, and this is what my philodendron micans looks like today. And I would say that I met this goal. It's not as big as I would like it to be, but I definitely made progress on it, and I did take several propagations and just put a lot of effort into getting a fuller plant. There was a couple plants throughout 2022 that I was really focusing on trying to fill out. A lot of them were my string ofs. Another one was my Hoya linearis, and then this one, my philodendron micans. So we do have cuttings that were potted in the top here that aren't really vining down, but they have pushed out new growth, as you can see there. There's a couple of like new sprouts coming out, so that's very exciting. It's been doing a lot better ever since I put my grow light up on my Wally Grow wall. If you haven't seen my December favorites video, I showed a couple of new grow lights that I just got from Amazon that I've been using to kind of supplement some of my plants that are in darker spots for the winter. But yeah, it's been going really well with this plant, and I think it's only going to go up from here, you know, now that it's getting more light and stuff. I think that my plan moving forward is going to be to take even more propagations from this plant and then eventually just pot it straight into the Wally Grow planter, because I do have just the pot sitting in the planter right now, which works fine, but I just want like a whole bunch of cuttings in there, and then I want a really lush Wally Grow planter full of Philodendron micans. So I'm going to keep working on that for this year, but so far I think that I'm off to a good start, you know, considering that I grew this plant from one leaf. Like, this isn't bad. And I love Philodendron micans. Like, honestly, this is just like such, I don't think it's underrated because I know a lot of people have these and a lot of people love them, but I just feel like it gets overshadowed by a lot of the other like velvety philodendrons and things like that, when these leaves are honestly like just as beautiful. They're just a, you know, a smaller leaf. Like, it's so fun to have a velvety philodendron in trailing form. That is so cool. So yeah, really, really love this plant and excited to grow it out even more throughout this year. Okay, let's check out goal number 4. Okay, next, this is another one of my hanging plants that I have on my bed frame, and it is my Marble Queen pothos. It is Greta. Yes, my friends, look at how good she is looking. Like, look at these leaves. She is just, this is the newest one, I think. Look at how pretty she is. Just beautiful. She's been growing really well. So my goal for her for 2022 is to get her to trail. I really want to see her trailing. She's like just barely starting, like she's just leaving the pot here, as you can see, but I really want to get a vine or two trailing down. Alright, so goal number 4 was regarding our lovely Greta, my Marble Queen pothos. So my goal for her was to get her to trail, and as you can see, she is trailing beautifully now. So another goal that I did meet, and yeah, I'm just really happy. I'm not surprised, honestly, because she's such an easy plant, even though she's in such low light. Like, she doesn't get any like sun or anything like that. It's just very like indirect low light, but she still does so well. So I'm very, very impressed with her. I did get one weirdly damaged leaf recently, but now we have another one coming in, and that one is looking pretty good again, so not sure why that was. There is another vine here as well that is trailing. Okay, well, it's all funky, but as you can see, that one would be trailing as well. It's just like, it's all tangled and weird. Pothos are honestly kind of crazy. Like, their vines have a mind of their own. There it is. Okay, so yeah, she's like a little baby trailing plant now again. How cute is that? I just started her off from cuttings when I moved back here, so really cool to watch her kind of get big again. Very exciting. Just going to continue to propagate and fill this pot out and grow her out nice and lush throughout the next year. Yeah, really excited about that. I might chop this off and propagate this new leaf that's coming in, just because I really don't like this damaged one. I'm not sure what happened there, but yeah, she's doing really well, and she's definitely trailing now, so happy that I can give a positive update on that one. Let's check out number 5. I'm absolutely enamored by this plant, and my goal for her this year is to have her bloom. She has never bloomed for me, and I'll probably cry. I was actually tearing up thinking about it. Okay, so number 5 was to get a bloom on my beautiful Hoya Crimson Queen, which, as you can see, is a massive, like, pretty mature plant. I've never had a bloom on it. And did I get a bloom this year? No. The answer is no. Unfortunately, I did not. I think it's just because she doesn't get enough light where she is. However, I did recently add a grow light in front of her, so I have a good feeling, you guys. I think that might promote something to start happening with this plant. But yeah, she's very healthy. I love her foliage, so it's not like I'm upset that she doesn't bloom for me. I know it's because of the conditions that I'm providing her. If I popped her in a sunny window, I know that she would just explode with blooms. But just because she's in a bit of a low light, or has been in a bit of a low light situation, I know that that's why it's not happening. So yeah, like I said, she has a grow light now. I think she's going to be a lot happier with that. She does still put out leaves and like grow really well, even in like the low light situation, But yeah, that definitely doesn't help to promote blooms. I haven't even really seen any peduncles on her or anything. But the moment that I do see one and the moment that I get a bloom on this plant, you guys will be hearing about it because I will just be so excited. This is one of my all-time favorite Hoya. This one, my Hoya compacta, and my Hoya linearis are probably my top 3 Hoya of all time. So the only one that I've actually gotten a bloom on out of those 3 is the compacta, and it only bloomed once. So the linearis is another one that I would love to see blooms on. I would just like, oh my goodness, I would die for that. Anyways, did not meet this goal, but that's okay. I'm just gonna keep on trying. I'm gonna keep on trying every year. Okay, the next one is regarding my Philodendron Brasil. I'll insert footage because it's another one that was thrifty and I don't want to touch. But I've been growing my Philodendron Brasil up a moss pole for probably at least half a year now. It was quite the process because I completely chopped up a large plant, propagated all the cuttings, and then potted them all together with a moss pole, and I've just been like guiding it up the moss pole. It feels like it's been a really slow process, if I'm honest, but you can see the mother plant leaves, like the ones at the bottom, are massive. It was a beautiful, huge Philodendron Brasil, and I would just love to get some of those large leaves again. So my goal for this year is to grow this plant at least halfway up the moss pole. It's quite a long moss pole that it's on, so if I can get it halfway up, I feel like I'm feeling a little ambitious. I feel like I can grow it more than halfway up. Alright, so for goal number 6, I wanted to get my Philodendron Brasil to grow halfway up the moss pole that I had given it. And this was one that I was honestly pretty shocked at when I was looking back on the footage, because I just forgot how small this was at the beginning of the year. Like, it has grown so much, and I just did not know that. For some reason I thought it was already like halfway up. Like, I forgot that my goal was only to grow it halfway. It actually did end up growing to the very top a couple of months ago, but it was just putting out green leaves and I didn't like that. I wanted to cut it back to where there was variegation because I want the, you know, the nice variegated Brazil leaves to grow to the top, and that's actually happening. This is the newest leaf that I got. Look at how beautiful. Oh, it's all new and shiny. I love that so much. So that's the newest leaf that I have, and it's really only like 6 inches from the top of the pole. So yeah, I technically grew this plant up the entire pole, but then I cut it back, and now it's 3/4 of the way up, I would say. And there's so many vines on this plant. As you can see, there's 2 new leaves unfurling on this side right there, and they're like pinky. They're so pretty. Gosh, Philodendron Brasil is so stunning. I was getting like a ton of the yellow neon-y variegation towards the bottom of the plant. Like, it was giving me a lot of just like solid light leaves. But yeah, this has been a really fun project to do. However, I will say that I just am not really a fan of this. Only because of the moss pole that I used. I regret this moss pole so much. It's way too thin. Like, this is just like the skinniest little moss pole for such a massive plant. Like, there's so many different vines. Like, there's even vines like coming out down here. Like, it's just, it needs a more substantial pole. Like, a Trifolia moss pole would have been perfect for this. So yeah, I really regret using this moss pole because it's so flimsy that it's always leaning. Like, that's how it sits, and that's just so unsightly. Honestly, it drives me crazy. So yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. I'll probably just end up like taking it apart and taking cuttings. But I did want to show you how far I was able to grow it up. So I kept it for the purposes of showing it to you in this video, because I am like very proud of how much I was able to grow it, and it was just really cool to see. And yes, I would definitely grow a Brazil or a heartleaf Philodendron up a moss pole again. I actually have my Philodendron Rio that I think I might want to try this with because I really love the variegation on that plant. It's so pretty. And I do actually have a different Philodendron Brasil in my house. It's a trailing one. It's not climbing, but yeah. Not sure when I will be taking this apart or kind of dealing with that, but this might be one of the last times that you see this plant as it is right now because, yeah, like I said, I just don't like how the moss pole is. Like, yeah, very, very annoying. But isn't it just insane how much it has grown? Like, I can't believe it. So I would say that I definitely met that goal as well. Okay, let's check out goal number 7. The next one that I'm going to talk about is my Alocasia black velvet, and I have been struggling with this plant so much, not in the sense that it's like dying, but in the sense that I cannot get it out of the one leaf club. It currently has 2 leaves, but don't be fooled because this one is starting to yellow and it's probably going to drop. This is a new one that just came out like a week or 2 ago. Oh, it feels so nice. This plant is absolutely stunning. It is my goal to have a large pot of this one day. If you have seen my Alocasia dragon scale, that's a massive Alocasia, and I would love to see this one get to like the same stage. I mean, I'm not saying it's gonna happen all in this year. It could, because my dragon scale grew that big in less than a year. But I at least want to get it out of the one leaf club. Okay, so goal number 7 was to get my Alocasia black velvet out of the one leaf club. And this is something that I'm still struggling with today. I feel like I made 0 progress on this goal throughout the year, which is fine. It's just, yeah, I cannot seem to crack the code on this plant, but this is actually interesting. I'll show you what my Alocasia black velvet is looking like right now. So as you can see, she has a leaf emerging, which really surprised me because this plant died back to nothing. It had 0 leaves for a while. It was just hanging out here, and I actually had a corm sprout that was a black velvet leaf, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna start over again. So I just ignored this plant. I just let it die. I was just like behind on throwing it out. It was just sitting on my shelf, and I knew I was gonna throw it out, so I wasn't watering it or anything. I was like, I'm just gonna start over with this new corm. So I didn't water this for probably like 4 to 6 weeks, I would say, maybe even longer. And the other day it just started popping out a leaf, and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, you won't grow for me no matter what I do. And then when I literally neglect you so bad, like you're just waiting for the trash can and you put out a new leaf. So yeah, we're getting a new leaf. So obviously I watered it now, and we'll see what's gonna happen. But yeah, just really, really crazy. There are corms in here too that, at least I think that there is, that I do want to take out because this one is not doing so well. And I don't know what it is with me and this plant, you guys. I cannot grow Alocasia black velvet to save my life. I do not know what I'm doing wrong. I can grow other Alocasia, but this one just gives me such a hard time. So yeah, these are the 2 that I have, and as you can see, they are both in the 1 leaf or less. Neither of these really have one nice full leaf. Like, this one is kind of half dying, small leaf. This one is half emerging, new leaf. So I mean, I guess together they can have 1. But yeah, I would definitely say that I failed on that goal. I was imagining that by the end of the year I would have this nice lush Alocasia black velvet pot, but as you can see, I do not. Like I've mentioned previously, these are commonly available just at big box stores here, so hypothetically I could go just pick up another one and start over again, but I'm just so stubborn. I really want to just either start a new plant from a corm and get it to grow nicely or something. I don't know. I just want something to happen with the ones that I have rather than going out and buying a new plant. But you know, I'll try for a while longer, and if not, then I'll probably cave and end up buying one. That's kind of the point that I'm at with my Monstera Thai constellation as well. Like, I think I just want to buy a new plant because the one that I have just, I don't know, it just seems like it's a lemon. But yeah, anyways, definitely didn't meet that goal. Still going to work on it though. Okay, let's check out goal number 8. This is a good one. My next goal is regarding my Philodendron splendid here, which is still propagating in water. It is giving me some roots, so that is very exciting. So my goal for this year with this plant, I'm very in love with this plant, you guys. I would love to have a huge Philodendron splendid. So my goal for this plant is to pot these cuttings up with a moss pole and have it grow up a moss pole. I just want to see some larger leaves. This is a plant that I'm just like very set on having it climb so that it can mature. Okay, I'm gonna have to move the camera up just a little bit. So this is another one where when I was watching the footage, I was absolutely shocked. I did not realize that it has been less than a year since I even potted this plant into a potting mix. Like, a year ago, I was literally still propagating this plant, like from those tiny cuttings. That blows my mind. Now, as you can see, we have 2 actually full-grown, Philodendron splendids with multiple vines. So this is the first one. This is actually the, I guess, like the mother plant. Please do not fall. You're always trying to fall. It's very dry. It needs to be watered. So this is the mother plant, which is very lush, very full, has tons of leaves on it, has some big leaves. And then we recently, I don't want this to fall, so I'm going to put it, oh gosh, I'll lean it this way. We recently chopped this plant in a video. If you have not seen it, I chopped this plant and it's still kind of adjusting. I think it's gonna live. Most of y'all, almost everyone actually voted that they think it's gonna live, because I mean, if you haven't seen the video, you'll have to go watch it, but I was trying to air layer this plant, it didn't take, and then I just decided to chop it anyways. So I was working with a very small root system, and this plant is still obviously recovering from that. But as you can see, I do have the biggest leaves on this plant. So that's just to show you like the progress that we've made over this past year. I don't want to bother that one too much because I'm just trying to minimize stress on him. But yeah, this is one of my all-time favorite philodendrons. It's been the fastest growing, the easiest philodendron. If you want to get into velvet leaf philodendrons, I would 100% recommend you start with this one. I've had literally no problems with it. It's so tolerant. This is right in front of my heat vent, you guys. And it's fine. Like, there's some damage on the very bottom leaves, but other than that, like, it's completely fine. It's still growing. It's just so tough. So yeah, I love this plant a lot, and I just cannot believe the progress that has been made in 1 year. Like, it's just so crazy. This is probably like my biggest plant accomplishment, I feel like. All right, and with that, let's check out goal number 9. Okay, you guys, the next one is to do with my Philodendron verrucosum. Look at how pretty she is. Oh, this plant makes me so happy. Okay, so my goal for this plant for this year is to get it to be more mature. Now when I say mature my plants, I know that I'm not going to get them I don't mean like full maturity, okay? I just mean more mature than they are now. So this is what it is currently looking like. This is one of the newest leaves. It has one that is also just coming out. Alright, so goal number 9 was to size up the leaves on my Philodendron verrucosum. So I have it right here to show y'all, and I feel like I haven't really taken this off of the shelf and shown it to you guys or talked about it in a hot minute, and this is actually also one of my all-time favorite philodendrons. So yeah, I'm gonna take this opportunity to give you a little update on how he's doing. So what happened here? Where do I begin? So I had the full plant in that clip, and then I know that I chopped it, I think maybe sometime around the summertime or the spring, and I rooted like the largest leaves that the plant had. So those are down here. These are now the oldest leaves on this one. I have 2 separate vines on this pole. So I rooted these cuttings. Once they had roots, I potted them up and gave them this pole by thickly. So I did that hoping that the new growth I was going to get from these big cuttings would also be big. So it gave me these, like a couple of smaller leaves, because that's typically what happens with the next leaf that you get after potting propagations. And then after that kind of small leaf, then they usually go back to a larger leaf, which is what happened. Like, this is a pretty decent size, but I guess just since this moss pole is so short and I didn't extend it or anything, that just kind of like limited the growth. So I've already had to start air layering, which has actually gone really well. This one was not a fail, thank goodness. I can see tons of roots in here. So there is a new leaf coming in, and this actually looks quite large and it's very hairy if you look at that. Yeah, I'm very excited to see this leaf. It's very hairy, very long. I think that this is probably going to be the biggest leaf that I've gotten on Philodendron verrucosum. So I can't wait till that unfurls. But once this does unfurl, I'm going to be chopping. We already have a root system here, and then I'm just going to be restarting this plant again. Because I'm realizing that that's kind of the way to go. Like, you need to have an established root system if you want to like maintain the size of the leaves. Like, chopping propagating and then repotting is not really, like, you can do that, but it's just so much better if you air layer it, because you're not going to be as likely to lose the leaf size. So yeah, definitely going to be chopping soon, starting a new plant. Regarding the goal, it was to get larger leaves, more mature leaves on the Philodendron verrucosum. I mean, I think that this one is going to be the most mature one that I've gotten yet, just based off of the size right now. So I don't know. This one's debatable because I definitely didn't see as much, like, this is not the size that I was hoping it would be by the end of the year, but it's also doing fine and it is continuing to size up. So I don't know, like, maybe I've met it, but it's one that's definitely still in progress and I'm still working on. All right, goal number 10. Okay, the next goal is regarding my Hoya linearis, which is living inside my Millsbow tall. It's been in there for a while now, and it has just been growing out of control. This thing is honestly taking over my Millsbow. It's like draped over a bunch of other plants, and it's just like pressed against the glass. It's just wild. It's definitely outgrowing the cabinet, so my goal for this year is to move it into my bedroom. I'm thinking of having it join the plants that are hanging off of my canopy bed frame, but I'm a little worried about light. Alright, so goal number 10 was to move my Hoya linearis out of my IKEA greenhouse cabinet. It was outgrowing it. I wanted to transition it to my bedroom and grow it as a trailing plant on my canopy bed, and I did end up doing that. I moved it, I think, around the summertime, and I remember I was very nervous about it. Some people swear that this needs really high light, but then I've also received comments from people saying that theirs does fine in low light, and thank goodness I can say that mine has also done well in low light. It has grown a ton on my bed, and like I said, it's not like a super high light. Like, all the plants on my bed don't get a ton of light. They do get some sun in the wintertime when it's a sunny day, but those are few and far between. It's mostly just like low to medium indirect light with some sunshine if it's a sunny day. It just really, it depends on the season, it depends on the day, it's very fluctuating, but like I said, I do now have a light there supplementing, so my candle's almost burned down. I do have a grow light there supplementing light for these plants, so I'm sure that they'll appreciate that, and I'm sure that this one will also appreciate that as well. It is still actively growing. It's gonna be hard to show the whole plant, but this has grown a ton, you guys. It is so long, and I'm just really excited to chop and prop this again, because like I was saying earlier in the video, this is one that I've really been trying to fill out. It is one of my just all-time overall goals to have a large, full, trailing, like hanging basket of Hoya linearis. I just think that that is just such an incredible look. Whenever people have that, I'm just like, oh my goodness, it's so gorgeous. It really is just such a unique plant, such a statement plant, especially as far as Hoya go. Like, this is just so unique. From the beginning, this was a plant that I really wanted in my collection. Like, it was a very like hyped Instagram plant, very like entry beginner Hoya type of thing. I wanted one so bad, and I got it, and I've been obsessed with it ever since. Like, it's always been one of my favorite Hoya, and that like initial hype never wore off for me. Like, I still freak out when I see people's photos of a full basket of this. So yeah, I'm, you know, well on my way. I've made so much progress. I just grew this from like a little plant, so yeah, it's like the top is a little bit messy because I have a lot of cuttings that are just coming out of different directions and haven't really like taken off yet, but you know, once those do grow long and catch up to these vines, it's just gonna be phenomenal. So yeah, I've definitely had success with this plant. I'm super happy with my decision to move it into my bedroom. It makes me so happy to see it every day, and it's just doing really well. So you can definitely expect more videos with this plant and with like propagating and filling it out again in, you know, the next few months. As we start going into spring, I'm going to be all about chopping and propping my trailing plants again and getting thicker, lusher, more full pots. So yeah, Hoya linearis, doing well. Alright, and then the last goal on my list was just a general one, and that number 11 was to maintain my moss poles better, just like keep up with the watering and everything. And I would say that for most of the year, I did a really good job of this. I definitely fell off of it near the end of summer and fall, but I've been back on top of it again, feeling really good about it. It's really relaxing. If I just wake up and I make my tea and then I go around and I water my moss poles, you know, once I'm in that routine, it feels really good. I get so many questions all the time of people asking how I water my moss poles, like I wish that there was a simple answer, but it really is just like you have to water them a lot. I water mine probably every 2 days, sometimes every day. In the winter when there's like heat blasting on these plants, I will just touch them up every day, so it really just does take dedication and consistency. And yeah, I wish that there was like a hack to make it easier. The thicker your moss poles are, the more water that they're gonna retain. So if you make DIY moss poles, I would make them thicker. I think mine are like 16 squares if you cut out the hardware mesh. And another thing that you could do is use the like enclosed moss poles. You can get them from Thickly or you can get them from North Shore Tropicals, so that those ones stay moist a lot longer just because they're like partially closed. So you could try out that style of moss pole. Also, it really helps if you don't let the moss get completely bone dry, because once it gets too dry, it's hydrophobic, and that's when you're getting the water just like bouncing off and running down into your plant. And I think this is what's happening with people, because I get a lot of messages of people worried that they're going to be overwatering their plant and like the water just like comes down. But if you don't let them dry out all the way, the moss just absorbs the water and it's not going to splash off and it's not going to go down. So yeah, I've never overwatered a plant with a moss pole. Like I've never rotted a plant that way or anything. So as long as you have a chunky mix, I think that there's not a very good chance of that happening. Like I don't really think that you need to worry about it. I also never really have my plants rot from overwatering. It's always from underwatering. So yeah, I guess I'm just not that concerned about wet rot. Dry rot is more my problem. But yeah, that's all I do to water my moss poles. I know they can be a pain in the butt, but yeah, the more you keep up with them, the better it is. But yeah, I guess that's it for this video. I hope that y'all enjoyed it. Let me know if you set goals for your houseplants. I would love to know what yours were for 2022 and how it went with reaching them. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Make sure you subscribe to my channel for more Planty content and check out my Patreon for bonus content. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!